Hello Rebels and welcome back to my life. It's Writer Wednesday, the day that I talk about what I'm writing and hopefully inspire you to get back to what you should be writing. Today I want to talk about a problem that I've been having with my own book recently. The book that I'm working on is The Mindmage's Wrath. Yes, it's The Mindmage's Wrath. It's the second book in the Academy Journals and it has taken me a lot longer than it was supposed to. Now I already made one video talking about this and talking about the problems that I was having with it and everything and how I was working on it again and revising my outline, and I had actually stopped working on the first draft to go back and fix it and everything, and that seemed to be going great. But then when I started writing again, it was not great. So basically, I had to go back to the drawing board again, which was just like beyond frustrating at this point, right? Obviously? Okay. So I went back to the drawing board and I was working on the outline again, and I finally figured out what the actual, like, thing was. And now everything's going swimmingly again. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. It's possible when you're working on your book, whether it's accurate or not, to feel like you're sort of lost, like you're a little bit swamped, like you sort of don't really know where things are going, where the plot is going, and why the characters are doing what they're doing. This can feel very discouraging. Now, sometimes that's not actually really going on, and all you have to do is just sort of like go look at your outline again, and you're like, oh no, of course, this is happening because this is going to happen later, and it's all going to make sense in the end. But sometimes, as was the case this time for me, that's not what occurs. You go and you look at your story, and you're like, no, it is a mess. I don't know why these people are doing what they're doing. None of it seems connected somehow. There's no thing holding it all together. And what that thing is that's holding it all together, what it was for me in this case, is going to sound so stupid and simple that you're going to be like, well, duh, but I already knew that this could be a problem, but I didn't spot that it was the problem in my book until after working on it for more than a month. So I'm just gonna let you know what happened in case it's helpful to you. What happened was, for basically the entire first half of the book, my book did not have a villain, which is like a pretty important point, right? Like, you need to have a villain in virtually every story. Well, you need to have an antagonist in every story, because without that, there is no conflict. Now, sometimes you can have the antagonist basically be circumstance, be the theme of the book itself, right? Like, there are minor antagonists in Romeo and Juliet, but the antagonist of Romeo and Juliet is the divide between Romeo and Juliet's houses. And there's a lot of, like, wilderness survival books where the antagonist is the environment itself, or maybe like some wolves, but really they're part of the environment, so you don't need, like, a person. So I'm not saying that you have to have, like, a person villain, right? A physical representation of your antagonist. However, in my book, that was what I needed, and I didn't have it. And so without that, like, person there, like, why was Eben doing anything that he was doing? There was no opposition. There was no villain to motivate him to do anything. There was really no problem he was trying to solve, and yet he ran around trying to solve all of these minor, small problems. And that's what it is. And once I figured that out, and I realized who the villain actually was, who it needed to be and who it should have been, and I put them in and made them a more fleshed out and more realistic character with depth and complexity and a reason to do the things that they were going to do, it all made sense and everything was wonderful again, and the book is going to be much better for it. I keep saying that every time I go through and make major changes to this book. If it comes out and it sucks, I'm going to feel very bad about myself. And that's it for today, Rebels. A special shout out to my supporters on Patreon who make the YouTube channel possible. If you want to be one of those excellent and incredibly attractive people, or to get signed copies of my books, there are links in the description to both of those things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!